Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Fabula Ultima TTJRPG. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this tabletop role-playing game that attempts to bring the Japanese video game RPG experience to your table, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about the press start section. This section contains everything needed to start playing Fabula Ultima. It all starts with Session 0. This session is meant to establish the basics of the setting in which your adventures will take place, along with the themes you want to explore and the heroes you want to portray. For the Game Master, this is a great time to learn about the player characters and start thinking about interesting scenarios, locations, and antagonists. For the players, this is where you cooperate with everyone else to create your very own world and characters. It is a chance to inject it with your own fantasy ideas, be it related to magical technology, terrifying danger, and such. Needless to say, there will be many occasions to leave your mark on the world you will create. However, think of this moment as the root of your play experience, from which everything else will grow, evolve, and blossom. The sections in this chapter are presented in a specific order, but you are free to go back to any step and revise the choices whenever you feel the need. You are building the foundations of your campaign, so take your time. The first thing you should discuss is the amount of time and effort everyone will be able to dedicate to the game. This will help set expectations and avoid issues later on during play. So you need to figure out the amount of sessions that you're going to play, how often will you play, weekly, monthly. The game is designed around sessions of approximately 4 hours, but how long do you expect your sessions to be? If there are missing players, how will you reschedule this session? How will you handle things? It's all about that. And of course, many things are not set in stone, but it's a good idea to come up with some guidelines when it comes to the general flow of the sessions or the campaign. Next, we have the tone and themes. Fabula Ultima is a game with a relatively broad scope. Depending on the kind of world and characters you create, the campaign's tone, the themes, they can vary quite a bit. Because this is a shared storytelling experience. Okay, there is an error here. Role-playing games are not storytelling. The story is created because of the interactions between the player characters and the game world. You are not telling a story. You are creating a story through the interactions. Once again, the great ignorance of the author is displayed in this section. So you need to be on the same page or at least lay a solid foundation. You can always discuss changes later. What kind of tone do you expect during the narration? Would you prefer a heavily dramatic tale dealing with complex situations and emotions? Or would you rather tell a fantastical story where good and evil are easily told apart? Are there any themes you strongly wish to explore during play? Will the heroes be best friends from the start? Or are you okay with moments of crisis and disagreements within the party? How will you resolve these contrasts? And when describing scenes and actions, are you okay with over-the-top anime descriptions? Or would you prefer a heroic but more fable-like approach? Now, when it comes to rules and challenges, much like tone and themes, this game allows you to customize its rules and play it with a variety of mechanical challenges and optimizations. This is about applying optional rules and determining how hardcore your game is going to be. Are you aiming for mechanical optimization with your characters? Do you expect the Game Master to design extremely challenging adversaries? And so forth. Next, we have the worst subsection: safety. Role-playing games are safe. This is so wrong. Your head is not going to explode if you see imaginary spiders, or if you are afraid of heights in real life and your character falls off a cliff in the game, you are not going to die. Or if your character dies in the game and you decide to end your life in real life, then you shouldn't be playing role-playing games. You should be looking for therapy. You should be looking to solve those emotional and mental issues. So this section shouldn't be called safety. It should be called comfort. you should feel comfortable with the games that you play. So it says here, role-playing games tend to get us emotionally and personally involved. But not to the point of actually hurting yourself or others, not to that point. And it says here, it's their beauty, but it also leaves us vulnerable. If you feel vulnerable or threatened by a tabletop role-playing game, there is something seriously wrong with you. This is a game. This is not real. It's not going to affect you in real life. If you are affected in real life by role-playing games, you need serious help. It says here, make sure to discuss whatever descriptions, situations, scenes, and story elements might make you uncomfortable. Exactly. Everyone should indicate any lines and veils. Please check out the previous part of this review to see what I think about the lines and veils stuff that they want to apply during sessions. It can be a good idea to handle this anonymously to preserve the privacy of the participants. If you are playing a tabletop role-playing game and the game master starts to talk about, let's say, violence, and you tap your line or veil card, or you raise your hand or whatever, everyone at the table already know that you have an issue with violence. So there is no privacy because everyone is going to think, oh, this guy or this lady or whatever, they had some problems with violence in real life. So you're already kind of exposing yourself. So just be honest about it in session 0. I am not comfortable with this situation. Moving on. That's it. And it says here, in particular, you should make sure to discuss the depiction of violence. By default, Fabula Ultima expects little elements of gore and blood, much like in classic JRPGs. Death is portrayed as a character kneeling or vanishing in a cloud of spiritual particles. But still, talk about the kind of scenes and descriptions people are okay with. Yes, that sounds reasonable. Then, the nature of evil. Story elements such as mind control, the persecution of a minority, or violent imperialism are all common tropes in tabletop games. But for some, they are very real and tangible threats. Strive to make sure the game is a safe space. Okay. For everyone, the concept of death is real. For everyone, diseases are real. And death and diseases can be caused by others. But you don't see rational, intelligent, balanced individuals having a heart attack because there was death and disease in their games. So the way that things are expressed here, it's quite clumsy. The entire thing is handled in a very clumsy way. And again, role-playing games are safe by default, unless you are playing a role-playing game where you stab someone in real life as part of the game, which is absolute madness. Role-playing games are always safe. Then we have romances, relationships, and sexuality. These elements are another trope of JRPGs, which often feature romances between main characters. Discuss if people are comfortable with this and exactly to what degree. This is also quite reasonable. As you play the game, you will probably reconsider some of your previous decisions. When this happens, talk about it with the group and find a new agreement. In my opinion, you shouldn't abuse this because otherwise, why are you having a session 0 if you're going to be changing things all the time? So it's a better idea to have a solid session 0 and only modify it if there are some extreme cases. And it says here, remember, you win role-playing games by creating a memorable story and having a great time together. Yes, of course. And you also win if you fulfill the objectives of the player characters. It's all a game. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about world creation. So this section does contain a few useful pieces of advice, but the section is completely marred, devaluated, tainted by the terrible opinions of the author. He's pushing his own treat me with kiddie gloves disposition, or if you are insane, please purchase my game. It contains mechanisms so that you can play the game while you are emotionally and mentally unstable. So yes, this is one of the negative aspects of this tabletop RPG. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.